Okay, so now we're doing part B of this problem about a company's profits. So part B asks, what amount do they sell to break even? So remember, this equation tells you the profit at a value of X, where X is the number of units sold in thousands. So remember that to break even means that the profit would be equal to 0. So it's asking us to solve this equation. So for what values of X does this equation equal 0? So to solve something like this, remember we can factor or we can use quadratic formula since it's in standard form. So this is actually relatively easy to factor because there is a common factor of -5 throughout. So remember, always check for a common factor, especially if the coefficients are large, and that will make factoring much easier. So you can common factor in -5. So you're left with x squared minus 7x plus 6 equals 0. So then you're left with x plus 6. Sorry, x minus 6 and x minus 1. So -6 and -1 multiply to 6 and add to -7. So then you set each of these factors equal to 0. You don't need to set this -5 equal to 0 because it's just a number. If there were an x out there, you would have to. So x minus 6 equals 0, which gives you x equals 6. Or from here, x would equal 1. So remember that x is in thousands, so your statement there would say, therefore, selling 1,000 or 6,000 units results in break even for the company. Okay? If you want, you can try quadratic formula with this as A, B, and C, and you'll get the same answers of 6 and 1. Our final example asks us to write an equation that has no zeros, 1 0, or 2 zeros. So this is going the opposite way. Before we were given the equation, now we're asked to find the equation. So I'm suggesting here to write the equations in vertex form. Why? Because in vertex form, it's very easy to see the y value of the vertex, that's that k value, and the direction of opening. So when you visualize something with no zeros, if it's a quadratic, okay, it would have to either look like this or like this. So either its y value is above the x-axis and it opens up, or it's below and it opens down. So let's say I choose this situation. So that would just mean I need a positive a value. It can be anything. Now it doesn't matter what the x value is. You can slide left and right, doesn't matter, so I'll just make it 1, who cares, squared. But this has to be positive, 10. Anything positive here would work, sorry, because then you have a positive y value and it opens up. Okay, alternatively, you could have a negative y value with it opening down. Okay, so for 1 0, doesn't matter if it opens up or down, but what matters about the vertex, think about it, it has to be on the x-axis. Now, does that mean that we care about the x value or the y value? Well, on the x-axis, the x value can be anything you want. What matters is that the y value on the x-axis is always 0. So I can make this minus 200 if I want, x plus 1,000. I'm just saying this just to show you how much it doesn't matter what you choose for these numbers, squared, and then you just don't add anything here. This has a vertex of -1,000, 0, since we're not adding anything. Okay? And finally, for 2 zeros, you have the situation here where, let's say if you have a negative a value, okay, think about that means it opens down, then the y value of the vertex would have to be above the x-axis, okay? Or if this was a positive value, this would have to be below the x-axis. Really, you're just visualizing what it would look like, okay? And using vertex form to figure it out. Now, if you did need to write it in standard form, which it says, write an equation in standard form, all you have to do is actually factor these out. So you might want to not actually be silly and pick big numbers like this. Really, you just need to expand this. So I'm just going to do it for A, and then you can do it for yourself for B and C. So remember that x minus 1 squared actually means x minus 1 times x minus 1. Okay? So this would become x squared minus x, and then another minus x, so minus 2x plus 1. Okay? Then 5x squared minus 10x plus 5, but then you're adding this 10, so I can just do that all at once. It'd be plus 15. So there you go. Now you can double check your b squared minus 4ac and make sure that that still works. Okay, so that's just one way of doing that question. You could also just start with a discriminant that you know will work based on no zeros, 1 0, 2 zeros. Just go right to that if you want. I'm just showing you an alternative way of doing it. Okay, so those are our examples on the number of zeros, and thanks for watching. I hope you learned lots.